I, probably like many of you, have been craving some Call of Duty Verdansk vibes. I mean, it was literally my home for a year and a half or however long it was, and because of that deep-seated craving, you'd understand if every time I thought it was possible or a possibility that they'd be bringing this map back, either me or one of the lads has squashed the dream with a resounding no. They won't be bringing it back. But you know what? I think it is coming back. And I've even managed to convince the rest of the lads here at Week of Geek, and furthermore, I think a lot of what we're seeing at the moment from Warzone 2 is pointing towards my theory being reality. And no, I'm not talking about Warzone the mobile game, I'm talking about Warzone 2 on PC and consoles with a Verdansk map. So grab a beer or a cake or something, because you're going to need to celebrate when I break down all of the reasons why I think we'll be landing back in Verdansk in 2023. Okay, so let's start with the obvious. Makarov. For those of you who don't know, Makarov is the original Modern Warfare, not this 2022 Modern Warfare, but the original Big Baddie. He single-handedly made the campaign one of my top 10 gaming experiences of all time, and I played a lot of games. So let's head down this little rabbit hole real quick. Try to stay with me. During the last scene of Modern Warfare 2 2022, that's the current version of the game by the way, the one that we're playing right now, a phone belonging to a bunch of hooded figures on a plane gets a message saying, "Ready, no Russian." That's really important because in the original Modern Warfare there's a whole incredibly dark mission where you, the player, go undercover as one of these terrorists, killing hundreds of innocent civilians to keep your cover. And just before you do that, the very famous line is muttered, "Remember, no Russian." It's gone down in history, and by reusing that line, the game is clearly pointing towards the return of the tyrannical terrorist Makarov to the latest edition of Modern Warfare. That was a lot, I know, and I'm sorry, but it's super important for this next bit. Because, assuming that Makarov, the Russian, is coming back, which we probably can safely assume that he is, we can also safely assume that there's going to be some more single player campaign. Remember, this is a 2-year COD. It's the first time that they won't be releasing another COD next year since, well, forever, since the series came out I think, which means they're going to need new single player and multiplayer content. So it's a very safe bet that by teasing the no Russian line, the game developers are telling us that Price and the gang are going to be seeing this timeline's version of Makarov next year in 2023, when we should have had a new COD, or they could be doing it even earlier. So yeah, Makarov in the new campaign in November 2023 or earlier. But we're here to talk about Verdansk, and what about Verdansk? Well, Makarov is Russian, as we've said. But guess what else is meant to be Russian? The city of Verdansk. In Season 4 of the Cold War Warzone, Activision confirmed that Verdansk is in fact a fictional city which is based in Russia. I mean, come on, if the single player game and the campaign is going to Russia to fight Makarov the Russian, the most popular gaming experience in decades, which was Verdansk in Warzone 1, is based in Russia, surely we can't be that far off presuming that when we go to fight the Russian terrorists in Russia, we might return to Verdansk in doing so. Now, I'd still be on the fence, and honestly, I wouldn't spend hours making a video to prove my point if that was all the evidence I had. But that's not all, there's more. Like we've covered, this is a 2-year COD. It's 2 years of the same game, the same engine and mechanics that we have now. That's a lesson that's been learned by Activision and Infinity Ward. They learned that changing developers and engines just doesn't work. The game and development ideas don't integrate well. I mean, some of you will probably remember the Cold War guns being completely different in Warzone to what they were in multiplayer. In fact, the sights were completely different zooms. A 3x looked like a 6x, which meant you could use them on top of your sniper with no problems. And to be brutally honest, there's loads of lessons that they've learned throughout their journey making Battle Royale games. And if you think about it, they've had over 3 years of experience of stuff that probably sometimes hasn't gone that well at all. And look, whether you love or hate Warzone 2, they have for certain done one thing, and that is tried to fix those problems. And yeah, for sure, they haven't hit the mark on all of it, but they have definitely tried to fix some stuff. So, why would they not fix the biggest problem that the first take of Warzone had? The fact that there was only one map. The mistake they made before was not changing Verdansk early enough, and by the time the developers decided it was time for a new map, the franchise had already ventured into glowing skins, 4,000 different guns, often with the same name but a different logo above it. And let's just face it, it was too late. Caldera wasn't the right fit or the right time. So again, we're assuming, but again, it's safe to assume, that they'll follow the trend of learning from their lessons and give us a new map, or a rotation of maps perhaps. You might have already seen, but there's loads of evidence already pointing towards a Mexico-based map next. Check out the Tactical Brit along with loads of other content creators for more details, because we haven't got time to go into it right now. But that map will be based on this story. That's still based on the story that we know about from this campaign. So we know if they're going to drop that Mexico map, it needs to be for the next big story arc of Makarov. Which again, we kind of know it's coming because of the spoilers they've given us. Are you still with me? Good, because there is more. On top of all of that, we've started to see trends of fan service. And that's essentially the developers listening to their audience and doing the things that the majority want just because it'll make the fans happy. Now, I know they don't do a lot of what we all scream for and haven't in the past, but there's a massive difference between giving an idea a chance and not doing anything. Like the new stronghold and loadout situation, for example. I don't mind it now, but hated it for a week. They didn't just listen to everyone's criticisms and change it right away, because that was a design choice. That's how they wanted the game to play. But they did listen about the AI, reducing how many AI there are across the map, because it was overwhelming how many people hated it in the game tests and streams. And they admitted that didn't work, so they took it out. The point I'm trying to get at here is that they're clearly trying to learn from their mistakes, using Warzone 2 as a platform to put all of the best bits in and take all of the worst parts out. And the player base and their feedback is clearly playing a part, and I'm not sure how big a part that is, but I think we've seen evidence enough to know that the player base and what they want is definitely being taken into their considerations. And what has nearly everybody been asking for since Caldera launched? Verdansk. And what is the only thing people are going to be downloading the mobile game for? Verdansk. Look, you've got to admit, it's all stacking up pretty heavily towards us heading to Verdansk to hunt down the no Russian terrorist group responsible for the upcoming mass airport murder in the upcoming single player campaign. And if that's the case, I would be very surprised if we didn't then end up in Verdansk in the Battle Royale. And honestly, I think with the new mechanics, it'll be a blast, and I cannot see Activision or Sledgehammer or Infinity Ward or whoever ends up being in charge of the game then passing up on the opportunity to use a pre-made map which costs nothing to develop or build, that falls in line with the lore and the story, that'll make nearly every Warzone 1 fan ecstatic and give every new Warzone player a new experience, even if it was only for a season or two. We've already seen they've got the ability to change maps because they did it to Caldera. It just meant that everybody had a hefty download. There is a lot of information there. But look, I'm just one guy who I think you can tell really loved Verdansk. So I could be wrong, even though I think I'm not. Regardless, I want to know what you think. Do you think we're going back? Is this just a dream of mine? Is Makarov even coming back, or are we just being trolled? Let me know in the comments section below, and thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.